We'll go right from there into Genesis 1. It seems very appropriate. When God began creating the heavens and the earth was a shapeless, chaotic mess, and with the Spirit of God brooding over the dark vapors. Then God said, "Let there be light," and light appeared, and God was pleased with it, and divided the light from the darkness. He called the light daytime, and the darkness nighttime. Together they formed the first day. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
In July, for several years in a row, Ralph and I made the trip to Michigan for a very special event, the Ann Arbor Art Fair. Now, in order to do it justice, I'm going to read its headline to you. The Ann Arbor Art Fair is a Midwest tradition that draws close to 500,000 attendees, over 3 days in July. The largest juried art fair in the nation. The Ann Arbor Art Fair features nearly 1,000 artists and a footprint spanning 30 city blocks in downtown Ann Arbor. Huge, right? Here are a few pictures of the event. 500,000 people, lots of art, lots of talent. Notice the juried sign? Because everything was juried and voted on. This kind of gives you an idea. That's the Michigan Student Union. Every square inch of space was used. Look at the crowds. Now this one, his art was a piano, and it was on a platform that he pulled around on a bicycle. It was really fun, and he pulled it around to different parts, and he played the piano on the bicycle. It was just really interesting. And walking around the University of Michigan campus and looking at all the art, my brain felt like it was in delightful overload. I was so amazed at the variety of mediums that I saw. I'll give you a few examples. Ceramic, oils, woodworking, glass, textiles, watercolors. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot more. And what would impress me the most about the art fair is the creative energy that it produced. I mean, people were interested in the art for the art itself, yes, but many were also gathering creative ideas. They were looking at their own creative blank canvases and asking themselves the question, what if? The psalm today that was read from the Message translation was really creative. I love the part where the mountain ranges skip like spring colts, or God's thunder sets the oak trees dancing wildly. God's creative action became alive in that passage. Listen to part of the Genesis passage again, this time in the Message translation. First this, God created the heavens and earth. All you see, all you don't see. Earth was a soup of nothingness, a bottomless emptiness, an inky blackness. God's spirit brooded like a bird above the watery abyss. Isn't that imagery fantastic? A God creating, yes, but it's as if God's creativity is shining as well. God created us in his chaos. God created using his creativity by giving us unique talents and unique abilities. So here's a question for you. When do you feel the most creative? When do you feel the most creative? Just call it out. When do you feel the most creative? Morning. At night. You're a night girl, yes. Early. What else? When you're doing PowerPoint, yes, that is very true. Sometimes I have to go through them and go, oh my goodness. Any other times?
I feel that way, any time of the day.
Any time of the day. You get those creative energies?
Depends on what's going on that day.
Depends on what's going on. Okay, so it could be any time of the day. All right, that's good. And now I've got another question for you. Let's say you were given a blank canvas or a blank slate, and the canvas could be real, like for painting, or it could be metaphorical, like a piece of cloth, a garden bed, a book with blank pages, an empty car with no engine, an empty dance floor with music. So the question is, what kind of blank canvas would inspire you?
Empty garden.
An empty garden. Okay.
A nice piece of cherry wood.
A nice piece of cherry wood. Or walnut, you look at it and go, oh, what could I create with that? Okay, that's good. Anybody else?
Something that needs fixing.
Something that needs fixing, that is true. He can fix anything. Anything. He even took the magnetron out of our microwave. Who takes the magnetron out of our microwave and replaces it? He does.
Anything I can upcycle.
Anything you can upcycle? Yes, like if it's been used and you want to make it new? That's good. That's a good platform. Anybody else? What would the blank, what is it? An empty room. Yeah, because you've got that creative designer brain. That's true. And I bet you Sarah in the back, I'm calling on you, Sarah. I bet you Sarah in the back, when you see a piece of music, like a score, an empty score, do you get excited? Oh, yes, I knew she would. She's definitely a creative spirit that way. Good answers, good thinking about this creative energy. One of my favorite seasons of my life was when I volunteered for Girl Scout camp, Camp Tuckerman. My name was Chicopee, which is Algonquian for water. And I lived in the nature unit. I was responsible for taking over 100 girls through the woods, exploring, or into the stream for stream studies. The kids were so eager to learn and absorb the lessons we taught them. And the staff, oh, I had some great friends. We got muddied together. We made projects together. We raised our kids together. We laughed. We cried together. Being at camp was a bit like being on a desert island. It was kind of surreal, like being on another planet. And we even had themes every year. And one year, our themes was fairies. So Monday afternoon, after a long day at camp, we went home to return on Tuesday morning, and we walked into our nature unit. And I couldn't believe what greeted us in the nature unit. A real-life fairy den. It was amazing. It was like a miniature dollhouse in the woods. Every single item in the house and in the yard of the house had been created with pieces of nature. Twigs, mosses, acorns, and their caps, lichens, bits of feathers. We were just shocked, and it was so beautiful. And the woman who created it, and it took us a long time to figure out who it was, that was a mystery. Her name was Snickers. She was a camp counselor there. She was an artist, and she did miniatures. That was her specialty. So her blank canvas was the woods and the pieces of nature in the woods. When God created, God had a blank slate, a void, a blank canvas on which to create. Everything was new. We were new, the other creatures were new, and it was declared good. And because of that blank canvas, we have an opportunity right now. We've entered the start of a new year. It's kind of like facing a challenge. There's a blank canvas set out in front of us, and we have no idea what the year will bring us. We have no idea if we're facing difficult times or incredibly happy times. The canvas is ours to create that space with God's help. After all, God created us and all those other creatures, even snakes and spiders, out of the black void, out of chaos. Then God was so interested in wanting to know what we were experiencing. He was interested in how we live, what we feel, and what we do, that he came to us in the person of Jesus Christ to walk like we walk. God continues to want to be a part of creation, beside and in and through us. Did you know that Big Cove is facing a creative new project? With Latham's help, I wrote a grant proposal called the Front Porch Project. Do you remember our Front Porch series? In the series, we talked about how in our new world, one that's rapidly changing, we no longer have front porches to connect with our neighbors. Front porches were the way society operated for centuries. It was a way to be inside someone's home, right, without ever really getting in the door. A way to experience the love of neighbor to neighbor on the safety of a front porch. We talked about how the world's changing and how our porches now have become patios and decks on the back of the house with fences to secure our privacy. So in response to the changing world, our church, that's eager to adapt to the new world that God is in, has asked this question: how can we share the gospel to a world that is at home? How do we do that? Well, our new front porch can be online and digital, where the people are. To follow the Great Commission, to live into our vision that God has called us to, Big Cove Church seeks to meet the people where they are, intentionally have conversations, and serve virtual lemonade. And the grant has several components to it. An online worship service with a chat room for building relationships. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube connections made through short video clips. Podcasts online and theology on tap in person on topics of hot interest. Website upgrades, guest speakers for webinars on current topics of interest, and tech and AV upgrades so that we can do all this. We're asking the North Alabama Presbyterian to listen to the needs of our community and to grant us the funding to be able to reach those people who need to find God, perhaps even from their own living rooms. You see, the world outside the church doors is an empty black canvas. We know a few things, trends and demographics, but what we want to do for the kingdom of God here and now is to produce a virtual front porch so that God's love can reach even those who might never step inside a church. The energy in which God created was tremendous, incredible, and astounding. The energy that God asks us to use to create new ways for a kingdom to shine and grow is equally astounding. Life has taught me something recently, and Jeff and I have been talking about this. Life is so short, friends. It's so unpredictable. It's unpredictable. We need to seize every ounce of creativity we have and plunge into the world around us with passion and love. God gives us life so we might help others live through relationship with them. The Ann Arbor Art Fair and the amazing Fairy Doll House in the woods are simple examples of how our creative energy can be used for good. Think of the happiness these types of creative projects bring to people. How we can bring love and hope to people through our individual creative energies, yes, and we can initiate and restore relationship. Our hope here at Big Cove is this grant that we have created will catapult us into the next century with the right technology and the right amount of blank canvas or blank slate through chaos to allow us to reach lives. After all, fairy houses can be real in the middle of the woods. Why can't a Zoom forum on fairies and God be real? I think that God has given us a blank slate or a blank canvas for our own personal lives. 2024. And blank canvas for our church as we enter into the new year. What do you see on that canvas? What new venture are you ready to step into in 2024? I heard a lot of creative things and energy around that. Can you ask yourself the question, what if? Amen.